What are you doing? No cold open. Too much to talk about. Episode. The episode begins 6 years ago in Wakanda as we see Ayo and Bucky by a campfire. She tells Bucky his Winter Soldier programming is gone and they are there to test it as she begins reciting his activation words. Sebastian Stan crushes it in this scene as we see fear and concern on Bucky's face transition into shock and then complete relief as he realizes no one can control him anymore. It is a beautiful moment and it really plays into Bucky's arc for this show of dealing with the Winter Soldier persona and all of the trauma that comes with it. Back in the present, we return to the alleyway as Ayo tells Bucky she is there for Zemo. I really love that it was the Dora Milaje that came for Zemo, because when Zemo killed King T'Chaka, the Dora failed at their main duty. This event gave them this overwhelming sense of shame, so bringing Zemo in is their duty. Ayo tells the White Wolf that he has 8 hours. After that, the Dora Milaje will come for Zemo. Bucky goes back to Sam and Zemo and tells them about the Dora. They also find out about Karli blowing up the GRC depot. Zemo tells them that he will do what needs to be done because Karli has gone too far. She has become a supremacist and she needs to be taken care of. He also says that the desire to be superhuman cannot be separated from supremacist ideals, and anyone who has that serum is inherently on that path. Bucky counters this statement by mentioning Steve Rogers, and Zemo essentially says that he is the exception to the rule. While I have loved Zemo and I think that he is highly intelligent, this scene shows that he is simply a zealot, blinded by his own personal tragedy. Steve Rogers represents the promise that there are good people. The problem is that people who seek out the super soldier serum have done it for the wrong reasons. Steve never seeked out power. He was chosen. Not only was he chosen, but he was the only one chosen for the right reason. Morality. To that extension, Bucky is attempting to live his life in a way that would honor Steve. So he also has no intentions of supremacy. Sam says that because Danya was such a major figure in the resettlement camp, there is most likely going to be a funeral service for everyone to say their goodbyes, and Karli will most likely be there. The three go to find out when it is. Back with the Flag Smashers, we learn that Karli's act of violence has brought even more people to their cause, but the nations of the world double down and begin fast-tracking the return to normalcy, which clearly angers Karli. Sam, Bucky, and Zemo arrive at the resettlement camp. They all attempt to get information in their own ways, with Sam attempting the kind, reasoning approach and Bucky tried. Neither are successful as we see Zemo approach a little girl as he offers her Turkish Delight candies in exchange for information. This is an homage to the Chronicles of Narnia and how the White Witch was able to get information from Edmund about his siblings using enchanted Turkish Delights. Once again, we see how capable Zemo is. While this scene is creepy, with Zemo approaching a strange child while singing Baba Black Sheep, it is also a wise move as Zemo preys on the innocence and naivety of this child to give him the information he seeks. He's always planning, always scheming in a way that appears effortless, and we get more of that later. Zemo acquires the information but tells the girl not to tell Sam and Bucky, and uses the information as leverage to remain free. Back at Zemo's place, Sam and Bucky lament about not getting the information, and Sam says he understands why people trust Karli. This is actually a really big episode for Sam. The way he acts and reacts to situations really helps paint the character in a specific light. Zemo informs the guys that he knows the location and time of the service, and he will lead them there, because as we see, Zemo is always in control, even when he is not. Sam calls Sharon for a favor and she says she has access to a satellite or two. She also tells him that the power broker was enraged when he found out Nagel died, and Madripoor is about to get real nasty, so they must find Karli. I feel like this scene was designed to continue to make Sharon look shady and that she may be the power broker. We catch up with Karli, who's at a cemetery with another Flag Smasher named Nico. We find out that she has been storing the extra super soldier serum at the grave of Nico's grandfather. We get a downbeat where she asks Nico if making more super Flag Smashers is the right move, and Nico gives her some words of encouragement while informing Karli that his grandfather fought Nazis in World War II. He also tells her that he grew up being a fan of Captain America. Cap made him believe that there were decent people in the world. He compares Karli to Captain America, saying that things are more complicated and people need a leader who understands their pain. But Karli says that the shield is a symbol of a bygone era, and it should be destroyed. That is totally not foreshadowing or anything, as it brings us to the first appearance of Captain America John Walker this episode, as him and Battlestar confront Sam and Bucky about Zemo. Sam tells them about the funeral service and his intention to talk to Karli and try to reach out to her due to his history working with soldiers who have trauma, whereas John Walker wants to go in hot, despite the large amount of civilians leading to a high risk of casualties. A lot throughout this episode we are getting little moments like this, and I want to point out that like Steve, Sam is willing to risk his own life by confronting Karli, alone and trying to de-escalate the situation, whereas John Walker was willing to risk others' lives to complete the mission. Sam is hopeful and has faith in people, and John Walker does not. Lamar Hoskins is able to talk John into giving Sam's plan a try. He is almost a voice of reason to John, and John questions Sam's plan to Bucky, who we see has complete faith in Sam's abilities. The little girl from earlier is there to lead them to the funeral, and they agree to let Sam go in alone, but he only has 10 minutes. Sam spots Karli and she spots him during her eulogy, and they talk alone when it is all over. This is a really important scene because the conversation shows that Karli is starting to go down the road of supremacy. She is putting herself above others, but Sam is able to make progress and get her to trust him. There's a really great moment where Sam puts his back to Karli as they begin to talk, and this body language signifies that Sam is not here to fight, that she could attack him if she wanted, and he wouldn't be able to counter. So not only is Sam using his words to disarm Karli, but also his body language. Karli begins to like and trust Sam. Walker, of course, ruins this moment by charging in, going in early due to his impatience and lack of faith in anybody but himself. Karli flees and a chase ensues. They all lose her except Zemo, who is able to escape the handcuffs Walker put him in and confront Karli, shooting her in the abdomen and knocking loose all the super soldier serum she was keeping in her fanny pack. Zemo starts destroying the serum with pleasure as Karli flees. Walker hits Zemo with his shield, stopping him, but he also finds one vial of serum that was not destroyed. He sneakily puts it in his pocket as Sam, Bucky, and Lamar catch up with him. Back at Zemo's house, Zemo asks Sam if offered, would he take the super soldier serum? And Sam says no, with no hesitation, and this impresses Zemo. It is also important to point out that when Zemo sees the serum vials on the floor, he picks one up and hesitates. Zemo doubles down on his decision to kill Karli. Sam questions Zemo's feelings about super soldiers and mentions Bucky, and I can't help but feel like this confirms a confrontation between Bucky and Zemo at the end of the series. They're both using each other as a means to an end, while also despising each other. Just then, Captain America, John Walker, kicks the door in, trying to bring Zemo back to prison, while also challenging Sam to a fight, because he's just that hot-headed and full of himself. The Dora Milaje arrive, and Walker attempts to pull rank and status on them, but they pay him no mind. This is one of John Walker's biggest problems. He demands respect.
Looking strong, John!
Walker causes a fight to break out, and everyone gets dunked on by the Dora, with Zemo casually making his escape during the chaos. Ayo also shows Bucky that she's able to literally disarm him at any moment, and the look of shock and slight betrayal on his face is great. Another thing I love about this scene is that the Dora were able to take control of all the vibranium in the fight by taking off Bucky's arm and pinning down John Walker's shield. If they wanted the vibranium back, they could have taken it, and they want you to know that. After the fight, Walker's rattled, and man, this dude thinks so highly of himself. He's so egotistical that he feels the only reason he was not successful this entire time was because he was dealing with super soldiers, and we see him envious of characters with the serum. But the harsh reality is he was in over his head from the beginning and not ready to deal with these types of scenarios. Everyone in that room got dunked on, from Bucky to Lamar Hoskins, and they just brushed it off. But Walker's fragile ego is unable to stomach this loss. This leads to a great scene between Lamar and Walker as they talk about the serum. John is essentially asking Lamar's permission to take it. He wants to gauge how he felt about him as a super soldier, and while I love Lamar, this is a flaw of his. He inflates John's ego, and he does not see John for his flaws. This episode gives us 3 pairings: Karli and Nico, Walker and Hoskins, and Bucky and Sam. The 2 they focus on the most are Walker and Hoskins and Karli and Nico. They show us these 2 people in positions of power that are both compared to Steve Rogers, but neither of them are worthy successors to his legacy, because the episode shows you through contrast that Sam has been the correct choice all along. Nico and Lamar are both guilty of the same thing, encouraging the person leading them to continue in the wrong direction, whereas Bucky is not afraid to question Sam, but also completely trusts him and knows what he is capable of. Walker and Karli put themselves above other people. This is in complete contrast to everything Steve Rogers was. People saw him as a symbol, but he never put himself above anyone. He was always just a kid from Brooklyn. He was respected because he commanded respect from those who knew him, whereas John Walker demands respect from everyone, and Karli demands the world to bend to her will through violence. Bucky may act like he doesn't care about Sam, but he sure as hell trusts him. Karli calls Sarah Sam's sister and threatens her and her children in order to get Sam to meet her. This is an interesting exchange because Karli questions Sarah about Sam because she is interested to see if he is a good person, meaning that he did start to break through to her. It's also interesting because how the heck did Karli get this information? Who was feeding her the intel? I mean, she even knew Sarah was standing out back on her dock. Karli would need access to a satellite for that. And this episode did inform us that Sharon has access to satellites. Sam and Bucky meet Karli, but soon realize her intention was to separate them from Walker, as that is her true target. Sharon gives Sam Walker's location, and we see that Walker just charges into this building going in hot. This causes him and Lamar to be separated, and Lamar is captured. Sam and Bucky arrive, and Sam helps Walker after learning Lamar was taken. We also see that Walker took this serum as he has increased strength. Bucky, Sam, and Walker start to fight the Flag Smashers as Lamar frees himself. One thing I want to say about this fight is that we see Bucky go out of his way to disarm and knock out Flag Smashers. He even tells them to stay down after he defeats them. He does not want to cause any more harm than he has to. During the fight, Nico is able to hold Walker as Karli lunges at him for a killing blow. Lamar saves John but is killed in the process. This infuriates Walker as the Flag Smashers all scatter. Bucky and Sam go after Karli while Walker pursues the first Flag Smasher he sees, which happens to be Nico. Walker chases him to a crowded town square where Nico surrenders, pleading with Walker that it wasn't him. Walker raises the shield and beats Nico to death with it. The way that John Walker kills Nico is pretty much mirroring the way that Steve Rogers stops Tony Stark at the end of Civil War. They both raise the shield high above their head, and they both aim for the chest. But in Steve Rogers' case, he aimed to disarm and not to kill. Bucky and Sam arrive, but they are too late, and the looks on their faces tell it all. Bucky looks on with anger and fury, while Sam looks on with sadness. The episode ends with Walker standing tall, holding the shield that is stained with blood. The scene is both shocking and horrifying, mainly because in the MCU we've never seen blood on that shield. Captain America is a symbol, an icon, a beacon of hope, and because of John Walker, that symbol is forever stained. This event will not only change how the world views Captain America, but America as a whole. And it'll make people start to lose faith in humanity because that's what Captain America was a symbol of. He was a symbol of the good in all of us. But let's be frank, Walker is most likely going to get away with this crime. We have seen heroes in the MCU do a lot worse, and the fact that Nico was a superhuman will be used in Walker's defense. They will say how someone who is enhanced can never truly be disarmed or something along those lines, and this may cause a level of distrust and hatred towards people with abilities. That being said, what Walker did was horrendous, and Sam and Bucky are definitely taking that shield back next episode. Part of me feels like the government has another shield ready to go for Walker anyway. We know that Steve brought the shield he gave Sam back with him in Avengers Endgame, but we don't know what happened to the pieces of his original shield. Is it possible that they were taken by the government and forged into a new shield that we're going to see John Walker use? Are we going to get a Falcon Cap versus Walker Cap shield off? That would be pretty amazing. But with all of that being said, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Is Walker going to get out of this? Plus, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later.